So, California Governor Gavin Newsom recently picked California Secretary of State Alice Padilla to fill Kamala Harris' vacant Senate seat. This was slightly controversial. First, progressives do not like the pick because Padilla is just another standard establishment politician. But the controversy stems from a push for Vice President-elect Harris' Senate seat to be filled by another black woman. Kamala Harris is only the second black woman ever elected to the U.S. Senate and only the 10th Black U.S. senator overall. It is really 8 if you don't count the 2 that was during the Reconstruction era. And 2 of the 8 were special appointments that did not serve a full term. This is one of the reasons why San Francisco Mayor London Breed stated that was a real blow to the African American community. Now, is she correct? Well, I have conflicting feelings on this. There is 2 different issues that continue to intertwine. It's symbolic representation versus tangible representation. Symbolic representation is having a black person in a high-profile position, but structural inequalities are not addressed. We see this quite often. Now, I do not think symbolic representation is worthless, especially when it comes to the children. We all internalize what we see in our subconscious. Most of the time, we do not even know where some of these feelings are coming from. This is especially true when it comes to children. Just look at the doll test or the blue-eyed, brown-eyed experiments to see just how important it is to see people that look like you in a position of power. However, symbolic representation can be harmful if it's being used to reinforce negative stereotypes. Fox News does this often. They often invite a black person to defend a talking point cloaked in white supremacy. That's how Larry Elder used to make a living. That's how somebody like Candace Owens is getting paid right now. Now, tangible representation is much more important. Tangible representation is when you have someone in a position of power that is fighting to address structural problems a group is facing. I'll give an example. I am not the biggest Cory Booker fan. He has a lot of big corporate interests and big money behind him, so I just can't trust that. Until recently, I would have put him squarely on the symbolic representation side. However, he has worked on issues in the last few years that made me slightly reverse my thinking. Not about not trusting him because of the big corporate interests, but putting him squarely on the symbolic representation side. He was one of the main architects in the First Step Act in the U.S. Senate. The First Step Act paved the way for the potential of nonviolent drug offenders to get released early. Now, you might say the First Step Act didn't go far enough, and it's not just for black people, and you'll be correct. But Cory Booker recently have introduced the Justice for Black Farmers bill. This is a significant bill that will allow black farmers to reclaim up to 160 acres each of land at no charge through the Department of Agriculture. This could be a game changer for black farmers and could have a major economic impact for black people in rural areas. Now, I'm not saying that Cory Booker is the greatest senator, but at least I can point to one specific piece of legislation that he has introduced that was designed to specifically help the black community. As far as Kamala Harris is concerned, her record when it comes to black issues is less than impressive, to put it nicely. She voted for the First Step Act, as all Democrats in the Senate did, and most Republicans voted for it as well. I do believe the law was able to get bipartisan support because of the explosion of the opioid epidemic that has heavily impacted the white community. Matter of fact, the Opioid Crisis Act of 2018 passed before the First Step Act, and 99 out of 100 senators voted for that act. The act provided funding for opioid recovery centers. The First Step Act is a good bill, but it does not go far enough. A lot of the First Step Act depends on who the Attorney General is. This law gives the AG a ton of power, especially when it comes to doing research and enacting programs to address the recidivism rate. Kamala Harris also had more convictions on marijuana charges than the DA before her. She would claim that she really sent them to jail, but instead sent them to programs. To me, this was just a waste of resources overall. And it leads to poor individuals being targeted. And this is especially true for Black people, where the targeting is highly disproportional. I remember her being asked about legalization of marijuana. And when she was asked about this, she laughed.
In the face of grave danger.
We asked California's current top cop, Kamala Harris, for her position on this controversial issue. Your opponent, Ron Gold, said that he is for the legalization of marijuana recreationally. Your thoughts on that?
I bet he's entitled to his opinion.
The thing that is crazy about this is that she made this statement in 2014. By then it was widely popular, but still she was on this tough on drugs, tough on crime mindset. Now, as a U.S. Senator, she did a completely 180. She actually co-sponsored a bill that would decriminalize marijuana federally, which is good, but we need people that is going to show foresight on our issues and not someone that will make a decision based on what way the wind is blowing. Also, in 2015, she refused to make body cameras mandatory statewide. To her credit, she did create a database of deaths in police custody, but she did not back a bill that required the AG office to investigate police shootings. Overall, losing Kamala Harris' seat is a blow for Black people when it comes to symbolic representation. The fact that with the two senators we do have, Tim Scott, often support propaganda from the right that is highly detrimental to Black people. This means our issues is not being heard at the U.S. Senate level. However, Kamala Harris is a typical politician. She will support what she thinks is popular, then flip-flops if public opinion changes. Her positions on marijuana is the best example on this. To end, I want to state, instead of advocating for politicians, let's advocate for policy. I would have liked to see the lobbying effort concentrate on getting someone to replace Kamala Harris that support the Justice for Black Farmers bill that Cory Booker introduced, or support in getting rid of qualified immunity and supporting real police reform, or supporting someone that supports reparations for Black people. That's where the effort should have been, not just for symbolic representation. We need tangible representation more. So while symbolic representation is important, policy and tangible representation is much more impactful. So I'll leave y'all with that. Don't forget to subscribe, click that notification bell, share the video. I'm Amin signing off. Peace.